Hey kids, before we get to the really fun stuff, here's something you need to know. The tractors and other machines you'll see in this video are important tools that help the farmers do their job, but they are not toys. Remember, stay away from moving tractors, combines, and trucks. If you see something that looks unsafe, tell a grown-up right away. And don't ask for a ride on a tractor. It's not a toy. But your local John Deere dealer has plenty of real toys available that you can play with.
Oh, no way! Look out, look out. Time out, time out. We'll get back to football in a minute, okay? Why don't we have a seat? Okay, get in close. Okay, how many here live on a farm? Yeah? All right. How about in the city? Who lives in the city? Good deal. Well, I grew up in a farming community, you know, and there's a whole lot more to it than just old McDonald. You know, most of our food and a lot of our clothes comes from the farm. And John Deere has made the farmer's job a whole lot easier.
What kind of machine is that? It's a cotton stripper. What do you need cotton for? A lots of things, like your shirt. It's made of cotton, but it came from the store. I know that, but first it has to come from cotton seeds.
You know, cotton, like a lot of crops, is only grown in the southern states like Arizona, Texas, Mississippi, because it needs a long, hot summer in order to grow. Now, there are two different kinds of cotton grown today, with a short staple cotton called stripper cotton, because it's harvested with a cotton stripper. Look at your shirt. I'll bet it's made out of cotton, only it was white back then. Look at your shorts, feel your socks, your hat. They're almost sure to be made out of cotton. And when you went to bed last night, you remember just how good those cotton sheets and pillowcase felt? They're all made out of cotton. But first, it starts with just a tiny seed.
Right here we have the seed that the planter put right here, and it's all the same all the way down the row. And in about 6 or 7 days, this little seed here will make a plant that'll stick up through the dirt here, and that's the start of our cotton crop.
Most cotton is planted using a row crop planter in long, straight rows about 3 feet apart, and it's planted usually during April. The John Deere 7800 tractor, along with its 8-row Maximer, can do the job better than any other machine in the world.
Wow!
This is what we call a seed box, and this is where we put our seed, and right here we have cotton seed in our planter, and that's what we're planting today here is cotton.
Oh, that's bad. That's cool.
After the cotton is planted and enough moisture gets into the ground, a small cotton plant springs from the ground, and the farmer needs to cultivate.
At this stage, you have these weeds coming up that you try to eliminate.
Farmers cultivate to keep the weeds out of the field, because weeds steal the same food in the soil that helps the cotton grow.
We generally start cultivating our cotton when it's 3 weeks old, approximately. When it gets up big enough that you can go through it without covering up any of the cotton.
So they use a cultivator to cut the weeds out of the middle of the rows. But the machine leaves the cotton plants alone so they can continue to grow. Today's cotton farmer may cultivate one field of cotton up to 10 times before harvesting to keep the field free of weeds.
See, when it starts out, Brian, it starts out as a square. And when it progresses on from the square stage, it goes into what we call what is white bloom, or a little flower. Then when it ages a little more, it goes to the red bloom. When it gets red, it's fixed to make a bowl. And then when it makes a bowl, it makes this little green deal. Then later on, about another 30 days, this bowl will open, and you'll have fibrous cotton, which is what they make material like we make our clothes out of.
No kidding?
Starting in September, farmers begin to harvest the cotton. In dryland farming, which is done in a lot of the country, they use a cotton stripper. Its job is to strip the cotton off the plant, along with the burr and other trash. Then it runs through the machine, cleaning it as it goes.
The cotton goes in here, and these brushes turn. It knocks the cotton off and goes in these augers on the side and goes up. It's a big vacuum cleaner. It just sucks the cotton up, okay? It sucks it about 10 or 15 feet up through a big chute.
Wow, that's big.
This is a burr, and the cotton is making in it. This is actually the bowl of cotton opened up, dried out with the cotton inside of it. And you take the cotton, and you can pick through the cotton, and you can find the seed.
When the cotton stripper basket is full, the cotton is dumped into a module builder, which then squashes the cotton all together.
Awesome!
So what started as a tiny seed out in the field is now ready to be processed and turned into your favorite pair of cotton blue jeans.
So you see, if we didn't have any cotton, we'd all be running around without any clothes on.
Hey, that's about cotton. Talk about food. I'm hungry.
This tract of plants, corn's one of my favorite things to eat. Where does corn come from?
Corn is grown all over the United States, and really all over the world. But unlike cotton, it can be grown in either hot or cooler climates. Some of the best states are Iowa, Illinois, and Nebraska for growing corn. Just like cotton, though, corn is also planted with a row crop planter in rows spaced about 3 feet apart. Corn needs this space to grow, as it reaches heights of over 6 feet tall.
Woo!
It is planted in the spring and takes about 5 months to mature or finish growing. Corn must also be cultivated to keep the weeds from robbing the corn plant of the nutrients and foods in the soil that it needs. The cultivator is attached to the back of a tractor and pulled through the field, which cuts the weeds out of the middle of the row. Once the corn is mature, it dies and turns from green to brown. Each individual corn plant usually has 1 to 3 ears of corn on the plant itself. The farmer uses a machine called a combine to harvest the grain from these ears of corn.
Check it out.
On the front of the combine is a tool called the corn head, which can gather up to 12 rows of corn at one time. The corn head strips the ears from the corn stalk and then uses the gathering chains to feed the ears into the combine.
And we're going to take this corn in It's going to go right up through the feeder, right through the chain. It's going to strip the corn right off of the stalk. The corn's going to go up, right into the throat of the machine. Auger pulls it, the chain gets it.
The combine then takes the ears of corn and threshes the grain off the cob, separates the corn from the other plant material, and cleans the grain. And all this is done in just one machine.
Wow, look at that.
I'll bet your favorite way to eat corn is fresh corn on the cob. Corn also comes in many other forms that people love to eat and use. Corn's used to make cereal that you eat in the morning. Also in chips, like Doritos and Fritos, in tortillas, and corn sweeteners used in candy and soft drinks. But we're not the only ones who like to eat corn. It's often used as food for cows, horses, and pigs.
That was so corny. Hey, we're not the only ones that have to eat.
My horse loves to eat hay. Yeah, mine do too. Well, this machine is awesome. It squishes it all together and spits it out.
Just like corn, hay is grown all over the United States. But unlike corn, you kids don't eat it. Hay is used only as feed for livestock, mainly horses and cattle. Farmers raise many different kinds of hay because of the varying temperatures and rainfall across the country. Most hay is like the grass in your yard, and it doesn't need to be planted or seeded every year. It simply starts growing in the springtime. Once a hay crop reaches maturity, the first thing a farmer must do is cut it. Most farmers use a machine called a mower conditioner, or MOCO, to do this job. It has two names, mower and conditioner, because it does two jobs. First, it cuts the crop off within a few inches of the ground, or mows the hay.
As the hay's standing up like this, the knife comes by. That's the knife. It's real sharp, and it cuts the hay off. And when it cuts the hay off, this hood up here has it pushed over, and it feeds it into those rollers right there. And what it does, it mashes the juice out of it so that it'll dry.
Radical.
After the MOCO cuts and conditions the hay, then it is ready to be baled. The hay is baled so it can be stored and fed to livestock later on in the year. There are two types of balers farmers like to use today. One is a square baler and the other is a round baler. Both balers take the cut, dried hay and feed it into the baler, where it's compressed into either a round or square bale. The round baler uses a set of belts to compress and wrap the hay in a big, tight, hard, round bale.
As you pull the baler across the top of the windrow, it feeds more hay in there, and the more hay you feed in there, the bigger it gets. It'll get to a certain size, and then it'll put the plastic wrap on it and tell you to dump it out. And when you dump it out, that's what it comes out looking like back there.
Round balers make big round bales that weigh between 750 and 2,000 pounds.
Whoa, look at that. like it this. How does it do that?
The advantages of the round baler are that you need fewer people to bale the hay, and it's easier to feed to livestock.
Okay, guys, let's stop horsing around. Cut. Break time. Let's eat.
Man, my mom buys good bread. But bread doesn't grow in the store. It's made from wheat. That goes in the field.
Nearly everyone knows that bread is made from wheat. But did you know wheat is also used to make pizza dough, cookies, crackers, pasta, cereals, even birthday cakes? What kind of a world would it be without wheat? In some parts of the country, wheat is grown during the winter months and harvested in the spring. This is possible because wheat grows well in cooler weather. So in some places of the country, like Texas and Oklahoma, farmers grow wheat where the winters are mild.
There's a lot of wheat growing in the Midwest up through the United States. Most of it down here is planted in the fall. See how small the little kernels are there? See how that is? This is a poor colored wheat right now because we've had too much rain on it. Ideally, it'll want to be gold. It's like a gold coin.
Wheat is planted every year, but because the rows of wheat are spaced so closely together, farmers cannot cultivate wheat like they do corn or cotton. When the wheat matures, it turns from green to brown. Farmers then prepare to harvest the grain, and we use a combine for this job, like the John Deere 9500 or the CTS.
Look at the size of that thing.
The head on a wheat combine gathers the crop by first using a knife on the bottom of the platform to cut the wheat straw. Then it uses the reel to lay the crop on the platform and feeds the grain into the combine.
And it goes on into the machine. There's a big fan in there which blows the light material out. There's sieves in the back which will separate the stems from it. And the grain goes down to the bottom of the combine and up an elevator into the grain tank in the back.
Incredible. I don't believe it.
We want to go over and make sure we get that trimmed up.
The combine uses a long tube on top, which is called the auger, to unload the wheat into a grain cart, which is then pulled away by a big, strong tractor. The grain is then taken to a grain elevator where the wheat is stored until it's needed to make the bread that makes your peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Ew! Okay, guys, no more loafing. Back to work.
I know another food we eat that's harvested the same way. Oh yeah? What's that? Rice, like we eat in our cereal bowl.
Throughout history, rice has been one of man's most important foods. Today, this grain helps sustain 2/3 of the world's population, being a wonderful complex carbohydrate and a source of protein. Rice is used in soup, salads, main dishes, and your favorite, dessert. Rice is like cotton, in that it only grows in parts of the country that have long, hot summers and plenty of water. States like Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and parts of California. Rice not only needs lots of warm days and nights, but it also needs water to grow. It's one of the few crops that needs to be grown in standing water about 6 inches deep. Rice is planted in the spring with a grain drill, or in a few parts of the country, with an airplane.
That's neat.
An airplane does the job plenty fast and leaves no mess. The farmer floods his field with water and has an airplane fly over the field and drop the rice right into the water.
An airplane will come over here with flagmen on both ends to mark his line of flight, and he'll open a hopper and fly onto the end and close the hopper and and spread the broadcast the seed over the crop.
Farmers are able to keep water on the field by building levees around the field to keep the water from running off.
When it would rain, they'd pump it off, and it need the water on, we'd open those gates and let just the water come in and flood the land, because we need a lot of water for rice.
As you can see, farming rice is lots of work.
Wow!
The field remains flooded until the rice begins to mature and turn brown, which usually takes about 4 months.
The crop will grow up until it comes out of the boot, what we call the boot here. It's usually in a green milky stage. What'll happen, they'll cut the water off so that the crop can ripen real well, the ground can firm up, and then they'll come in with a machine like this and harvest it.
Rice is a difficult crop to harvest, so most rice farmers use a special John Deere rice combine called a CTS. This combine is designed to handle the tough conditions that farmers are faced with in order to harvest rice, like muddy fields with lots of green plant material.
Now you see what the combine's doing? It's cutting the rice underneath. There's a knife. The rice goes into the auger. The auger brings it to the feeder house, and the feeder house brings it on up through the machine and thrashes it. And what happens, it'll thrash this stuff like this. It'll take it off. The machine will take it off, slip it up through the top, and you notice it comes up just rice up on the auger.
Wow, that's awesome!
After the rice is harvested, it's hauled to a rice mill, where the hull, which is the brown covering on the kernel, is removed and the rice is polished. Then the rice is bagged and shipped to the stores. Unlike many other grains that are grown, rice is used primarily as a food source for people. Most often, rice is eaten cooked or used in cereals. We in the United States consume about 25 pounds of rice per person per year, while countries such as Taiwan consume between 200 and 300 pounds of rice per person each year.
See, you didn't have to go all the way to China to see how rice grows. Now you know more about the American farm than most kids do. And so do you. Aren't you guys ready to play some more football? Yeah! All right, let's go.